the Clovis Point that they found in New Mexico, which dated back to like 12,000 BC. And I could go on a sidebar with these archaeologists. When they find something that's the oldest, they will defend it to the death. They do not want anything older to be found.
Well, yeah, that's a real problem with Egypt, too.
But they found another point of some kind in New Mexico that dates back another 8,000 years.
Yeah, they
just
found
shatters.
footprints.
Yeah, yes, that's what it was. Footprints.
I think it's 22,000 years.
Yeah, it shatters.
Also, that's just what they found.
Yeah.
Like, who's to say there's not one that's 35,000 years old?
Yeah, we're saying that the oldest thing we found is the oldest thing.
That's ridiculous.
Which is just fucking human.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they're realizing now with human civilizations, that it's very likely that there was a mass disruption of human civilization from asteroid impacts or something like that, and we had to rebuild. And that's what the pyramids are, and that's what a lot of the structures they find even in North America. And, catastrophes do happen. And I know we don't want to believe it. It's just like the vegans don't want to believe they're causing any death when they buy their kale.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. We don't want to believe that this could ever fall apart and we could be right back to square one, right back to living like nomadic tribal people. But that 100% can happen.
Well, you know what? Einstein's famous saying when they asked him what would be the weapon of destruction in World War III, and he says, I have no idea, but I know what it is in World War IV. And they said, what is it? And he goes, sticks.
Yeah. It probably doesn't even have to be the war, though. That's the problem. The problem is we're in a fucking shooting gallery. We're spinning around in a shooting gallery of massive chunks of space debris that literally is the stuff that forms planets.
Yeah.
And it's everywhere. There's so much of it out there. There's hundreds of thousands of near-Earth objects. And there's a whole asteroid belt. And if one of them collides with another one, and one of them's coming in from some other place, and it hits one and just sends it right towards us.
Yeah.
And some of them are fucking huge. And when those things hit, that's a wrap, civilization.
Yeah.
Whatever people are left, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. You're going to live like barbarians for the next 1,000, 2,000 years before people reinvent civilization again.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see if it's reinvented the same.
I don't think it will be. I think there's a certain amount of genetic memory in people. And I think even if something horrible happened and we had to start right now from scratch and rebuild civilization, I still think we would be better off than people who tried to do that 5,000 years ago or even 10,000 years ago. I think the human, the collective human consciousness is something other than just what you know and what you've read. I think there's some shit that's in you in genetics. I think people are better at stuff now than they've ever been before. But clearly, if that's the case, whoever built the pyramids, they must have been around way longer. They must have been able to have a civilization that thrived way longer than ours.
They still can't figure out how they built it. And there's something that I just read about. If you look at its longitude and latitude, it's like a perfect 1/millionth of it.
It's almost perfectly true north, south, east, and west.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's whoever did that probably was along the same lines that we're on. They just had way more time to do it. They had, thousands and thousands and thousands of years, where we've only had a few hundred. Few hundred of craziness, a few hundred of the Industrial Revolution, combustion engines, utilization of fossil fuels, all the shit that we're doing now, nuclear fuel, nuclear weapons. This is real recent. Yeah. So if they had some more time than we did, that's what explains that shit to me. And I think that if we go and then there's a few barbarian people left, a few thousand all over the planet, and they eventually redo civilization, they'll probably do a slightly better job. I think each group does a slightly better job
than the last.
But it probably takes forever. It'll probably take another 4,000 or 5,000 years for civilization to really emerge again.
Are you familiar with I'm fascinated with anthropology.
Me too.
Like human anthropology. And the fact that we now know that there were 4 different human species living on the planet at the same fucking time.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah, maybe more.
Yeah. If Homo erectus was still around too, you got the Denisovans, you got Neanderthal, you've got your Homo sapien, and then there was another off some Indonesian island.
Yeah, the
It was-
Homo
yeah.
floresiensis, I think
Yeah.
that's how you say it. Those little hobbit people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they think there's still some of those alive somewhere. There's a thing in some parts of the country, they call them the orang pendek. And in jungles, people have reported seeing these little tiny people, little tiny hairy people, like, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. And so there's this myth of this orang pendek, and they never took it seriously until they found these little people on the island of Flores. And like some of these jungles are just so insanely dense, like in Vietnam and places like that. Like, who knows? There might be a small population of these things still alive today, or
Well, there's
were alive
still
100
a
years
few
ago.
uncontacted tribes. There's that one in India that every time somebody tries to go
North
there,
Sentinel Island.
they kill them.
Yeah. Well, they didn't used to. When they started killing them, there was a guy named Commander
Yep.
Maurice
I wanted to make a movie about that.
Maurice Vidal Portman. Yeah. He was a pervert. And he'd run around fondling people and drawing pictures of them, making them dress up like Roman soldiers and talk about the size of their dicks. Did you know about that? No. Yeah. It's like, this one had testicles the size of a sparrow's egg. Like he was doing science. He's a little pervert. And this guy, he was responsible for getting a bunch of them sick. And a few people died. And they even kidnapped people, and they tried to raise their kids somewhere else. I think they kidnapped some people. But that was a very hostile interaction with white people. So from then on,
They were like, fuck
like
it.
you see them, start killing them. They're gonna give you, herpes, and
They're throwing spears at helicopters.
they're gonna make fun of your balls. like please. So that one guy, he just like did, air quotes science, just traveling around to all these islands and fucking with these people.
Yeah. And now they were like,
Yeah, now they'll fucking kill you.
Yeah.
They will fucking kill you. They kill everybody. You can't even get out of the boat. They're already shooting arrows in your direction. And now they have metal, too, because they took one of the boats that got stranded there. They had to rescue these people that were stuck on this boat because the North Sentinel people were coming for them in the boat, and they literally had to rescue them in time. But they got onto the boat, and then the next time they saw them, they noticed that they had metal weapons.
Really?
So they think they've salvaged pieces of the boat and turned it into knives and sharpened them and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah. It's crazy because there's only 39 of them. And they're the direct descendants of people who left Africa 60,000 years ago. And
crazy.
because there's such a small number of them on this island the size of Manhattan, they just never passed like how humans were 100,000 years ago or whatever it was, 60,000 years ago. They're exactly that. They live exactly the way people lived back then, which is really wild to see. Uncontacted tribes, man. That's one of the weirdest windows into the